Very good afternoon. This is Alok Srivastava from Network Nerds after no doubt a very long time. So you can see here the Amazon Web Services login of which we have, or our login on the AWS cloud. I'm not going to cover the very basic things, that what is cloud computing, why I should be using it. Rather than, I'll be just focusing on some of the features of the AWS, and will try to launch an instance on the EC2 cloud. Right here it is. So before we proceed further, let's just recap fast the benefits of the features of the cloud computing. One is obviously on demand. I need not to invest in creating the data centers, which the traditional IT data centers used to have, that I need to invest in a lot of capex, which is the capital expenditure, huge investments. I don't want that. So I will be using the resources or the capabilities of AWS here to launch my instances. So on demand is one of the features. Network access is one of the beautiful features, that my server which I have hosted or I am going to host on EC2, it is accessible from anywhere in the world. It can be accessible from laptops or workstations or mobile phones, anywhere. Another feature is the shared pool. Shared pool means what? Shared pools means the silo of resources, a location of resources, right, which I have created for a particular individual, or it can be a particular department. So if I'm not using it, those resources can be used by another company which has got its account on AWS, if I hadn't reserved it for myself. Rapid provisioning is one of the options. So you are able to launch an instance in a fly, like this. Oh, sorry, like this. So I just had a small accident. So my left hand has got some injuries, and I tried to use my left hand. Sorry. And the benefits obviously it gives me is the lower cost. Again, I need not to invest in the just ignore this color scheme, right? So I need not to invest in the data center, the location, the space, the electricity needs, the cooling needs. I can avoid all those things. So just move on to straight away the Amazon Web Services. So I'll just give you a very brief introduction here, though it's not required because everyone knows Amazon Web Services. So it's a comprehensive public cloud platform which you can use on a daily basis and on a pay per use basis. Initially, Amazon was a part of the Amazon.com, the e-commerce giant, and so way back in 2006. Now it's a separate entity. It has got its data centers worldwide in US, Europe, Brazil, Singapore, and now recently they have added a data center in Mumbai also. Oh, just a moment. In Mumbai also. Asia Pacific, Mumbai. So what is the region I'm going to cover on this? This is virus stuff. I don't like this. Okay. So they have added a Mumbai also. So these are the regions. I'll be explaining you a bit what are the regions, and why understanding the regions are very much important for you. So region is what? First understand the architecture and the component, the basic architecture and the component. So let me just open the notepad here. Yeah. I'll just give you a AWS architecture, and components. So this is very important before you proceed and create your instances. So the whole AWS, you know that AWS is spread out globally, right? Right, and globally as like USA and Europe, it's in Asia also, and Australia. So these areas are known as regions, right? So these different areas are known as regions. These different areas like US, Europe, Asia, Australia are known as regions, right? So now we have 11 regions. Currently AWS has 11 regions, so which I had just shown 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, that's good. What difference does it make? Why I should be bothered or about the regions, right? And each region has got multiple data centers. So each regions has got multiple data centers. Multiple data centers means actual hardware, right? Multiple data centers. Why should I bother? So as a rule of thumb, while creating the AWS instances or AWS servers on the EC2 cloud, you should always choose the region which is closer to you physically. So always choose the region which is closer to your location geographically. Why? Because for a very simple reason, the resources will be served much faster, isn't it? So it gives you much faster access. Perfect. So if I am in India, which I am, so instead of choosing the region from US East, because now the latest region which the AWS has added is the Asia Pacific in Mumbai. So I should be choosing this region to host my instances or whatever I want to do, rather than choosing the US and Europe anywhere. Make sense? I hope it makes sense. Perfect. So whenever you use any service, you're free to choose the region, and remember, each region is completely isolated from another region and run independently. So it's a very important point. Each region is completely isolated from other regions and run independently. So these points need to be taken care. Okay, that's great. Now regions are further split up into what AWS says availability zone or AZs. So it's another point. Regions are further split into AZs, availability zone. They are known as AZs. Sorry, AZs. So what is a AZ? AZ is again a isolated location inside a region. So AZ, or I can write here AZ, is a isolated location inside a region, right? And AZs within a particular regions are connected to other AZs within the same region with a low latency links, right? So I'll just explain it to you. So what we come up with, that a physical there is a physical data center which more than one physical data centers of AWS, which is further divided into regions, and regions are further subdivided into AZs. So I'll just give you a very simple example, and you should always remember that the resources means the servers or whatever you are creating on the AWS. Keep the current scheme and don't show this message again. The best option to choose in Windows technology. Okay, so, and you should always remember one thing, that the your resources includes your servers or your storage part, anything which you host on AWS are the resources. So resources are never replicated across the regions unless you specify it explicitly. So remember this, resources are never replicated across the regions unless specified. That means whatever server I am creating in the Mumbai region will not be available in the US region, will not be replicated, right? Which will be, the resources will be confined to a particular region. So, and AZs are very important because data centers, they are more capable of failures and downtime. So it is always a good practice to distribute your resources across multiple AZs, and you should design your application in such a manner that it should be available even if the one AZ is completely offline. So let me just try to like give you a picture of what I had explained here. So I will just use my some whiteboard kind of stuff. Just a moment. Where it is? Yeah, Autodesk sketchboard. Perfect. So this goes something like this. Let me change the color. So first you have got Amazon Web Services, right? So inside Amazon Web Services, I can write here, and it actually doesn't have the text option. So this is your AWS, and inside AWS you've got different regions like this. So these are the physical locations. Inside the physical locations, the regions, you then have got different AZs, availability zones, different availability zones. These are your availability zones. So like this, right? And these availability zones, they are connected to each other via a low latency link. So I can use the black color here just to connect. They somehow are connected to each other. Like this. So this, the bigger one is the AWS. So each region is completely independent. Each availability zone is isolated, but availability zones in a region are connected through some low latency links. So if I am able to write here, let me see, just a moment. I'll try to connect my tablet here and will write for you. Just give me 1 minute. I just need to find the file. I think I got it. I will be connecting my tablet and I hope I'll be able to show you. Perfect. You can see the sound. Oh, sorry, hear the sound, not see the sound. So this is your AWS, Amazon Web Services. Oh, let me use the pen. This is your AWS setup. This is your region. And in the regions we have got different AZs, availability zones, like this, and these AZs, though they are isolated from each other, but they are connected with each other using a low latency link. So this is how the region and the availability zone concept of the AWS is, right? Perfect. So before I proceed further and will create a EC2 instance, which is not a big deal here, because I'll be using the dashboard and I'll try to connect or create the instance using the CLI also, which I'll be sharing you in the next videos of AWS, not right now. So the AWS platform, we need to understand the platform, the major components of the AWS before we proceed further. So I can just write here AWS platform overview. What are the major components? So the AWS, the complete AWS platform can be divided into 3 major classes. All the services are divided into 3 major classes, right? So I can say it can divide the services of AWS into 3 major categories or classes, right? Okay, that's great. So what are the categories? So the first is the foundation services. I'm going to show you all these. Foundation services are, as the name says, the foundation. These are the pillars, the RCC block or your car's chassis on which the entire AWS infrastructure runs. So I can write it that the backbone, right? Term is as the backbone of AWS, backbone of AWS infrastructure, right? And there's some issues with my internet connection, so I hope it will be connected now. I don't want to connect to this one, I want to connect to Big Red Hat. It will be prompting me for the password, so please bear with me. These days we are getting a lot of issues on our internet connections, and the Airtel guys, the local service provider, I am not going to show you the password. Perfect. Hope so. It's connected. Yo, connected. Thank you very much for bearing, and we are also facing a lot of issues with internet. So if someone is working with Airtel, please check this. This is not good. right? So the foundation services are the backbone of the AWS infrastructure, and normally the services like your compute, it includes your compute service, it includes your storage service, it includes your network service and the database services. So these are the foundation services. So if I go and try to show this, so see here, services. So compute, storage, database, networking. These are the foundation services. This is my console, Alok Srivastava. Right? These are my foundation services. Fair enough? Oh, ignore it. Right. The second is the application services. So application services are usually very specific. They're not for generic use, and they are normally used with the foundation services to add the functionality to your applications. So I can write here, say it's more specific, right, and used with foundation services to add functionality to your application, right? So services like your distributed computing will come into this. Services like your messaging services will come into this, right? Media trans recording and all these things. So here it is. See here, application services, right? These services will be coming into the application services. Then the third service, the third category is the administrative services, which is again very important. Administration services. That is actually the primary service which deals with the identity and access control. So it primary deals with identity and access control and management, right? Like suppose I intend to create a user account, Alok Srivastava. I intend to create another user in my AWS infrastructure, and I want the user, say RN, to have the rights just to launch the VMs, like your user and groups and the permissions in a normal Linux environment. So those things are being controlled by the administration services. So monitoring your AWS services, application deployment, automation, these things will be coming onto the administration services. So if I try to again give you a picture of this, how it works, I hope this AWS region AZs are clear. So I'm just removing it, I'm not saving this. Perfect. So if I again draw a diagram for you, sorry, not this one, I should be using a square or a rectangle here, like this. So this is further divided into some sections. So the first one is the administrative services, as I have told you. So let me write here. I use the black color to write. Sorry. And this is your administrative services. So we have got certain services, that is say identity and access into this. identity and access comes into this, then monitoring comes into this, then we have got say deployment and automation comes into this, right? Deployment and automation. So these are the administrative services, right? Then the other block is application services, right? Or say foundation services. I can put here foundation services. So again I need a rectangle. I need to draw a rectangle here. This. So this is the foundation services. Sorry, I always act stupid. I think I am. Foundation services. So in foundation services we have things like compute. Those who are familiar with the OpenStack, they will find these things very easy to understand. Storage, database, and networking. Neutron in OpenStack. So these are the foundation services. And the last part obviously is our application services. So I had a bigger space here. Perfect. And in foundation services, let me write here. Application services. So under application we have got things like search capabilities, workflow management capabilities, got messaging services as I had already written there, media transfer recording I can write here, content distribution is one of the service. Handwriting is not very good, so please you have to content distribution is there. Then distributed computing is one of the options. So these are my application services. So this is the block, right? So the compute has got two services. If you see here, if I open it here, go to my dashboard, compute EC2 and your elastic compute container service. So the compute includes these two major services. Another one is there, that is the virtual private cloud, which will be discussing it later on, not right now, right? So storage also includes your S3 storage, EBS, Amazon Glacier service. Let me see here, EC2 container services. So these are the storage include your S3, your Glacier, CloudFront. So, and your database include these services. So these are the options available to us, right? And in networking, like if those who are comfortable with the OpenStack or are aware of the OpenStack, there you've got Neutron. Here we have got something known as the elastic load balancer is there. Amazon Route 53 is your DNS services, which is really very scalable and available service. So these are the some of the major services. I'm not going into all these right now, as I'll be sticking myself to the foundation services. Identity management is one of the another options here. Security and identity, IAM, identity and access management. So you can just correlate it, or the counterpart can be OpenLDAP, which manages everything, right? Right. So once we have this everything available with us, so let's move on and create a small instance using the dashboard, not the CLI. Later in some videos I'll be explaining you each and every topic in detail, but right now let's just try to have an instance running. That's all. I'm not going to create any user accounts and the groups here which I had already created. Those are already there. Right. So once we go to the instances, sorry, this is the way I click on the EC2, and my region is my Mumbai region. Please wait for a moment. I hope the internet will be working properly. Bear with me. Yeah, seems good. It's coming up. Right. So I can simply click here, launch an instance. But before I launch an instance, you should understand the instance types and the images type, right? So let's understand what is an instance and what is an image. So the virtual machine which you build on the cloud, they are normally known as the instances, and the template which is used to create that instance is known as the image. It's very simple, right? So images are nothing but a pre-configured template which I can use to launch a instance, and they here in AWS we call them AMIs, Amazon Machine Images. So that means using the AMI I can launch multiple instances. And AMI also have the launch permissions. Launch permissions means that whether this image should be okay. If I click here AMI, you see a couple of you don't have any AMIs here. No problem. Not owned by me. It's not public images. So these are available to everyone. So these are your launch permission. Anyone can launch them. These are the launch permissions. So using these images I will be able to run the instance. So if I again draw a diagram for you to explain, I use my whiteboard. I hope I can safely remove this. Perfect. So it goes something like this. Again I'll use the black color first to draw a rectangle or a square, whatever. It goes something like this, that I have got a one EC2 EMI, sorry, AMI. This is not EMI, right? So this is my AMI, Amazon Machine Image. Sorry. Using this AMI, Amazon Machine Image, I can launch multiple instances. Multiple instances means multiple servers. They may be running different applications like this. Not three, more, right? So like this, something like this. I can. So these are my multiple instances. So this will be, say this is your instance number 1, give it any name, it's running say Apache. This is your instance number 2, say it's running your FTP server. This is running is your instance number 3, it's running say DNS. So you can keep on adding more instance using the same Amazon machine image. So it's a predefined template here, right? So if I go back here, these are the AMIs. So certain AMIs are okay. I'm not going into that. Now we'll come on to the instances. So instances, if you see here, they are further divided into normal instance, or we call it on-demand instance, spot instances, reserved instances, or dedicated host. So let's understand the basic difference between on-demand instance, spot instance, reserved instance. These are very important. Before I click on launch and try to create the instance, you should understand the basics, the foundation. Build your foundation first. Right. So if you wish, I can write about that image part which I had mentioned there. So I can write here, it's another block of images and instances, right? So this is images and instances. What's the image? Image is nothing but a pre-configured template, right? So image is nothing but a pre-configured. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I'm in office, so some activity keeps on happening, so it's good, right? So image is nothing but a pre-configured template which I can use to launch instances, right? Which you can use to launch instances, and they are known as AMI, Amazon Machine Images. Right? So they are static in nature. Once means once it's created, the state will remain unchanged, and there is no restriction on the size of the instance that you will launch based on the AMIs. So I can write here, they are static in nature. That means once they are created, the state will remain unchanged, right? I can spin up or can build multiple instances using the same AMI, right? And then I can do any modification inside it, it doesn't matter, and there is no restriction on size of instance which I am creating, which is being created using a AMI, right? So a small instance or a big instance, it doesn't matter, right? Perfect. So let's move on to the instances first. Instances. So there, as you can see here, there are certain sort of instances available. Instance, which it means on-demand instance, spot request. So what are the differences? So number one is the on-demand instance. So on-demand instance, it's the most commonly used instance type, right? I can write here, it's the most commonly used instance type, right? So you can create it whenever you need. Sorry. Whenever you need, right? And so that's why they are known as on demand. So the pricing is by hour, so you need not to pay anything upfront. No upfront payment, sorry. Pricing is by hour, whatever, right? So pay as you use, as I have told you, and you can shut it down anytime. Can shut down anytime, no problem. So by default you can only launch maximum of 20 on-demand instances from a single account. Currently, I can write here currently to be safe. Currently you can have maximum 20 on-demand instances from a AWS account, right? So that means from my account, Alok Srivastava, I can launch only 20 AWS on-demand accounts. The second is, okay, let's talk about reserved one, which is very interesting. Reserved instances. Okay, let me make this I in capital. It doesn't look good like this. Reserved. What do you mean by reserved? Number one thing. Okay, it's a very interesting point here. AWS doesn't guarantee you deployment of on-demand instance. Wow, 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 what's that? That means what? So on-demand means I can create a and terminate anytime. There is no commitment between me and AWS, right? So there might be a resource crunch, which is actually very, very remote and a rare chance. But still, there might be a resource crunch, and because there is no commitment as such between you and Amazon, so it doesn't guarantee you that it's going to run it in next 5 minutes or 3 minutes. It can take 15 minutes also. Or if there is a resource crunch, it might not run today. So I don't want that. In case I don't want that, so then you have got something known as reserved. Reserved instances means AWS actually guarantee your instances with resource capacity. It's like a reserved ticket, your airline ticket or train ticket or railways ticket, right? Your ticket is reserved. On demand is, those who are from India, they know it. It's a kind of a tatkal or a current reservation. AWS actually guarantees you your instance with reserved capacity, or the reserved with resource capacity, right? And then you need to purchase the reserved instances, all upfront or partial upfront or no upfront. So you need to pay some commitment. There must be some sort of commitment, right, between you and Amazon, AWS, sorry, not Amazon. So like from a minimum period of 1 year to a maximum of 3 years. So these are the reserved instances. Then spot instances, as the name says, spot, not sport. Spot instances. So it is actually kind of a bidding process goes here in the spot instances. If I click on the reserved instances, let me try to show this. Purchase reserved instances. So if you click here, you need to pay some amount, right? I'm not doing it, canceling it. Spot is the bidding. You need to bid for a particular instance. So if another company has bid, has increased the bid, your instances might be down. So you should not be putting your critical applications on the spot instances, right? Only some very rarely used application or the applications which are non-critical should be used in the spot instances. Okay, so let's go ahead. We had got enough of our concept building thing. So let's go ahead and create an instance. So I'll be using a on-demand instance, obviously. So I click on the instances. I'm really sorry, I have to close this stupidity. I click on EC2 instance. So by default it's I'll be using the on-demand instance. I select the EC2. Need to wait. I hope the net connection is perfect. Right. So I click on the launch instance. It's very simple. It allows me to choose my AMIs, Amazon Machine Image. So these are things. So let me choose RHEL 7.2. Right. I will be discussing this EBS things later on, not right now. And you can see here, the beautiful thing is that it has got repositories. The path to the repositories, Docker, PHP repositories are available. So in case you want to deploy that Docker, need not to go and hunt for the packages. Just choose this repository, Amazon Linux AMI. So in my case, I'll be sticking to my RHEL. I choose the RHEL. Okay, what hardware you want to be run? So in OpenStack they call it flavor, right? So here it's the the combination of your CPU, memory, storage, networking capabilities. So let me just choose this T2 micro. It is a very generic, and the network performance is low to moderate, though I'm not going to put anything on it. So just click here. Perfect. So spot request, I don't want the network. Let it be default. I'm not going to choose anything right now, as we are doing it for the first time, or I'm showing you for the first time. So the behavior can be, say, it's a shared tenancy. So not doing anything here. If you want multiple instances, just increase the number, right? Virtual private cluster will be later on, not right now. So by default it will choose any in which subnet or specific IPs you want to assign, so you can use it, one subnet and two subnet. So if I choose, I can auto assigning. Public IP should be auto assigned, right? Auto assign the IP, so make it enable, so that the public IP should be assigned automatically, which you'll be using to connect to it using SSH or any other method. Good. So, and I don't have a Linux box here, it's a Windows machine, you must be seeing it. And here goes my internet connection once again. Blame it on internet, don't blame it on me. So I'll just try to do a small trick to get it back. Just a moment, guys. I really appreciate your patience with me. Okay, hopefully it will work. Right, in the meanwhile, I just have to wait just a moment. It's disconnected from Red Hat. This is takes time, just a moment. So this is we are facing since last couple of days, and I don't like it. So the Red Hat should be appearing here. This is another mom's network. Wow, not my mom. Some of the networks that it's connected with small red hat. I don't, no problem. Let's get connected with this. At least we have got connection, right? So I got the auto assign should be, and you can choose the subnet in which you want to run it. So auto assigning is enabled. Next, add the storage. Storage means how much hard disk, additional hard disk if you want to add. So by default it has got one dev SDA of 10 GB. Increase or decrease the size. You can choose the volume type. So I'm not choosing it anything right now, nor I am adding any other. Next, tag the instance. So tagging is merely giving it some key values so that it can be, you will be able to search it. So I can add a tag here, say the server, and the value is say test1, anything, right? And next is just security group. So let me just allow either you can create a new security group or choose from the existing one. So let's create a new security group, and a security group name can be anything, say allow SSH, right? And some description you want to see, so SSH or any other port from anywhere in the world, right? So it gives you a warning obviously that it's accessible from anywhere, no problem. So just review and launch it. Improve, it's open to the world, no problem. Just ignore it safely and try to launch it. And it gives you a key pair value, which is very important. Key pair is the one which will be used to access it once the instance is created. So either you can choose from the existing key pairs, or I can create a new key pair. So key pair name, create a new key pair, say server1-key, anything. And this is, you should download the key pair and save it. See here, you have to download the PAM file before you can continue and store it in accessible location. So just download the key pair and then launch. So here it comes. I have to keep it in a safe place and then launch the instance. Perfect. So the instance is getting launched. Notification time and everything. So if I again go back, because it's a on demand, there is no commitment, the time can vary, right? So if I click on the view instances, it should be available if the resources are available on AWS. Perfect, it's running. Just wait for a moment, it will take some time, and I can see the public IP assigned and everything coming up here. This is the public IP which is assigned, security group running, it's running. Perfect. How can I connect it? There are two methods to connect it. So before you proceed further, you should always note down this public DNS thing. This is the name via which, the IP via which it can be accessible from anywhere in the world using the SSH, along with the keys. Obviously you should have the keys with you, so please note down these things, right? So, or I can connect it using my browser, which I'm doing it right now. I'm not doing SSH. So if I connect it, so it gives you everything. So this is the command which you will be using to connect it, right? You should change your keys permission to 400. Okay, so here I use a Java connection. Let me see if it is accessible from here. That's Chrome, it's like it's not depreciated, so either I should use Firefox or anything, so I'm just ignoring it. So close this and let me see if you click on the connect here, it will automatically gives you all these options. So if I have putty or anything, I'll try to connect it, right? So I don't remember if I have got putty with me. Okay, now I don't know how to use it for okay, right. Say how to do SSH. Okay, remote command SSH2. So I should have the keys with me. These are the keys. So instead of going into this, if you connect it and if you have the access to the some Linux box here, so you can just download the keys, change the permissions, and then use this command. It gives you everything, exact IP address and everything, and you will be hitting to your instance, right? So I don't have the Linux box as it's a Windows machine here. So you can try doing this. So I'm just ending the video here. So I hope I was able to build the basic concepts of the AWS infrastructure, and then we'll be learning more things in the future. So thank you once again. Thank you for watching, and that's all. Thank you very much. I'm just stopping the video now.